Welcome to The Explainer. For literally decades, we thought we had heart disease risk completely figured out. But the latest longevity research, well, it's telling us a completely different story. Today, we're diving into a massive paradigm shift in cardiovascular health, moving away from the traditional cholesterol tests you're used to and into a highly precise metric that honestly changes everything. Imagine this, because it's a terrifying reality for a lot of people. You walk out of your routine checkup, your doctor gives you a big thumbs up, and you think you're perfectly safe. But underneath the surface, you might actually be harboring a hidden progressive threat. The truth is, your quote-unquote normal cholesterol results might be lying to you.
All right, let's get right into section 1, the traditional cholesterol myth.
Okay, so we're all familiar with the standard lipid panel, right? It measures your HDL, your triglycerides, and of course your LDL, which we usually just call the bad cholesterol. But here is the critical distinction you absolutely need to know. Traditional medicine primarily looks at LDL-C. That C stands for cholesterol. This is strictly a mass-based measurement. It's just calculating the total weight or mass of the cholesterol carried inside those particles floating around in your blood. And this brings us to a huge, glaring flaw in the status quo. You can have perfectly normal LDL-C levels and still suffer from a severe cardiovascular event, like a heart attack. Why? Because measuring mass is incredibly misleading. If you have a high concentration of really small, dense atherogenic particles, the total weight of your cholesterol might look totally fine on paper, but your actual risk is sky high. The weight just doesn't tell us the whole story.
Which brings us to section 2. What is Apolipoprotein B?
Let's put standard LDL on the back burner for a second. Apolipoprotein B, or ApoB for short, is a specific protein that sits right on the surface of the particles that actually cause plaque buildup in your arteries. Now, this includes LDL, but it also includes VLDL and IDL particles. These are the atherogenic particles, the ones that can literally cross the endothelial barrier, get trapped inside your arterial wall, and initiate atherosclerosis, which is the formation of plaque. Now, here is why this is an absolute game changer. The number one, every single atherogenic particle circulating in your blood carries exactly one ApoB molecule. Not 2, not 0, exactly 1. So what does that mean for us? It means that by measuring the ApoB in your blood, you aren't just guessing based on the weight of cholesterol anymore. You are getting an exact, literal head count of every single dangerous particle in your bloodstream. Let's move on to section 3, ApoB versus traditional LDL. Let's visualize this. Think of your blood vessels like a massive highway. Measuring traditional LDL-C is like weighing the total mass of all the little stick figure passengers sitting inside the cars. But ApoB is counting the actual number of cars on the road. And as experts point out, it's not the passengers that cause the damage. It's the cars themselves crashing into the arterial wall that causes the localized damage and the plaque pileups. This creates a fascinating situation known in medicine as discordance. Discordance is basically what happens when your LDL-C mass and your ApoB particle count tell two totally different stories. Say your standard test, the passenger weight, looks perfectly fine. Your doctor says you're good to go. But your ApoB, the car count, is actually dangerously high because you're driving around with lots of tiny, dense cars. The data is absolutely clear on this. Your true risk of heart disease tracks with the ApoB. It tracks with the particle count, not the cholesterol mass. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The hard science backs this up completely. Translational medicine highlights some incredibly powerful insights here. Mendelian randomization studies, which by the way are some of the most robust genetic studies we have, confirm a direct causal relationship. Individuals who walk around with genetically lower ApoB levels throughout their entire lives have a dramatically reduced risk of cardiovascular events. It is the particles driving the disease, plain and simple. All right, let's get into the actionable stuff. Section 4. Optimal targets for longevity. So what numbers should we actually be aiming for? Here is where conventional medicine and longevity medicine totally diverge. A standard lab report is going to tell you an ApoB under 100 milligrams per deciliter is normal. But remember, average does not mean optimal, especially when heart disease is a leading cause of death. Proactive, longevity-optimized targets are way more aggressive. For primary prevention, we want to see that ApoB below 80. And optimally, longevity leaders are pushing for 60 to 70 milligrams per deciliter. We want as few of those atherogenic cars on the road as possible. Now, to truly hack your biology and understand your unique cardiovascular profile, ApoB shouldn't be looked at in total isolation. It's the star of the show, absolutely, but it works best when you pair it with a few specific secondary tests to get the complete picture. We're talking about a CAC scan, LPA, and hsCRP. Let's break these down real quick. First up is the coronary artery calcium, or CAC scan. While ApoB tells us how many dangerous particles are circulating in your blood right now, a CAC scan looks at the structural damage those particles might have already caused. It's basically an unenhanced CT scan of your heart that detects subclinical plaque burden. It literally visualizes any calcified plaque already sitting in your arteries. And you know what the magic number is here? 0. According to experts at institutions like Johns Hopkins, a CAC score of exactly 0 is one of the single most powerful negative predictors of experiencing a cardiovascular event. If your score is 0, it's basically the strongest marker you can have, showing resilience to atherosclerosis. It allows doctors to appropriately downgrade your immediate risk and really personalize your prevention strategy. Finally, we've got to look at systemic inflammation and genetics. Lipoprotein A, or LPA, is this highly atherogenic, genetically determined particle. The good news? You really only need to check it once in your life. But longevity targets want it under 10 milligrams per deciliter. Then there's hsCRP, which measures chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation. Studies like the CANTOS trial actually proved that reducing inflammation lowers cardiovascular events entirely independent of cholesterol. Conventional medicine says anything under 3 is fine, but longevity targets demand you keep that hsCRP firmly under 1.0. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? We have to shift from reactive care to proactive optimization. Don't wait for a symptom. Seriously, don't wait for a heart attack to be the thing that tells you your normal cholesterol was actually a massive problem. By shifting our focus from weighing cholesterol mass to precisely counting the ApoB particles that actually drive the risk, you take control of your biological age and your health span. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is literally just potential until you act on it. You now know that standard tests might be completely missing the real driver of cardiovascular disease. The tools for precision longevity exist right now, today. So the question is, are you ready to look past the standard checkup and start counting the particles that actually matter?